Marcus Johnson stood in the courtroom, shackled, blind, and tense. Everything seemed stacked against him. The knife had his fingerprints. The neighbor had heard arguments the night before. His wife was dead. His loyal service dog, Rex, sat quietly at his side, alert and patient, and what Rex would do in just a few moments would leave the jurors, the judge, and even the police officers speechless and shocked. Marcus's mother sat behind him, tears streaking her face, whispering prayers, whispering his name, pleading silently for anyone to see the truth. At Marcus' side, a deputy held him firmly by the arm, while another officer, Daniel Keaton, stood near the judge's bench, watching the proceedings with stern authority. Jason Mills, his young public defender, rose and tried to hold the courtroom's attention. He spoke carefully, emphasizing Marcus's service, his sacrifice, his blindness, and the fact that none of this evidence proved guilt. He reminded the jury that circumstantial evidence was not the same as proof, that Marcus had returned home wounded but never violent, and that he had loved his wife deeply. The prosecutor, experienced and commanding, immediately pushed back. He outlined the evidence methodically. The knife beside the body, Marcus's fingerprints on it, the neighbor's testimony of loud arguing the night before, and the tension in the marriage. Each point seemed to build an unbreakable wall, and the jury's expressions shifted ever so slightly, absorbing the narrative like a wave of inevitability. Objections flew from Jason Mills, trying to draw attention to inconsistencies, trying to humanize Marcus, trying to remind the jury that appearances can be deceiving. Some objections were sustained, some overruled, each small moment underscoring the overwhelming weight Marcus faced. Marcus remained silent, his head bowed, hands gripping the table, letting the courtroom's weight press down on him. Every eye seemed to pierce through the quiet, yet he said nothing, a still figure amid the storm of suspicion. The prosecutor pressed further, suggesting that frustration, the pressures of Marcus's blindness, and the marital distance could have built to a dangerous breaking point. Marcus lowered his head, silent. The gallery whispered, the jury exchanged glances, and the tension seemed to press in from every wall. Everything pointed toward guilt. Everything made it seem inevitable. And yet, Rex remained calm at his side, alert, watching every movement, every pocket, every gesture. No one could see the significance. No one could imagine the revelation coming in mere moments. The courtroom was brimming with tension, with injustice looming, but one faithful companion quietly waited to turn everything upside down, even if no one realized it yet. The courtroom buzzed quietly as more witnesses were called. Each account seemed to tighten the noose around Marcus Johnson. The neighbor described the night before his wife's death, voices raised, doors slamming, a sense of anger and fear that filled the house. Every word painted Marcus as desperate, frustrated, a man capable of violence. The prosecutor's voice rang out, sharp and relentless, as he outlined each detail with precision, connecting the arguments, the knife, and Marcus's fingerprints into a picture that seemed undeniable. Jason Mills, Marcus's young public defender, rose again, trying to steady the room with his calm but measured voice. He reminded the jury that Marcus had returned home from war blind, a man suddenly facing a world he could no longer see. He described Marcus's dedication to his wife, his quiet resilience, and the attempts he made each day to regain some semblance of normalcy. He spoke of small victories, learning to navigate his home, returning to cooking, and the tenderness with which he cared for his wife despite the frustration of sudden blindness. The prosecutor countered with relentless efficiency. He highlighted the marital strain, the arguments, the growing distance. He painted a narrative of a husband trapped by frustration, a man whose personal struggles had escalated to deadly consequences. Marcus listened quietly, head bowed. He recalled the laughter of earlier days, the warmth of small gestures that once kept their marriage alive. He remembered the arguments too, the tensions that had grown in the silence of his blindness, the helplessness he felt as the distance between him and his wife widened. Yet he never raised his voice, never faltered in the calm dignity he had carried into the courtroom. Rex sat by his side, silent and observant, shifting occasionally, nosing the floor, but returning always to Marcus's side. No one in the courtroom noticed the subtle focus in the dog's eyes, the way he tracked movements, scanned the floor, and seemed to sense the invisible threads of truth hidden in plain sight. Hours passed. Each witness, each cross-examination, each piece of evidence seemed to weigh more heavily. The knife, the fingerprints, the testimony, all carefully orchestrated to make guilt appear certain. By the time Marcus was called to the stand, the jury had already absorbed hours of testimony. The courtroom was thick with tension, with the impression of inevitable judgment hanging over every soul present. And still, through all the accusations, the whispers, and the mounting evidence, Rex remained at Marcus's side, calm, patient, alert, as if knowing that the moment of revelation would soon come, though no one else in the room could imagine what was about to unfold. Marcus rose slowly, guided by Jason Mills, shackles clinking softly, Rex faithfully at his side. The courtroom fell into near silence as he took his place at the stand. His hands rested on the table, head bowed. Yet there was a quiet dignity in the way he carried himself, a calm in the storm of suspicion. Jason asked gently if he had loved his wife. Marcus's voice, barely above a whisper, confirmed that he had loved her with all his heart, that she had been his light even when he could not see. The words were simple, sincere, yet fragile in the oppressive weight of the courtroom. The prosecutor pressed, asking whether the night before her death had been difficult, whether frustration or marital tensions could have driven him to violence. Marcus lowered his head, silent, letting the courtroom feel the tension he could not speak aloud. Every word, every pause seemed to confirm his guilt, at least to those watching. Hours passed. The jury returned, ready for the judge to pronounce the sentence. His mother sat behind him, tears streaming silently down her face. Jason Mills tried to maintain composure, but the weight of evidence and suspicion loomed large. Marcus appeared resigned, accepting the fate that seemed inevitable. Then Rex barked, loud, sharp, insistent. All eyes turned toward the dog, who lunged at Officer Daniel Keaton, pawing at the belt pouch at his waist. Gasps filled the courtroom. The officer tried to push the dog away, flustered and pale, and in the scuffle, a small necklace slipped from his pouch, clinking onto the floor. Judge Helen Whitaker froze, recognition flashing in her eyes. She remembered a single photograph of the victim she had seen weeks earlier, showing the very necklace now lying on the floor. It had never been entered into evidence, never questioned, yet here it was. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. The judge picked up the necklace carefully, holding it high for all to see. "I recognize this," she said firmly. "This belonged to the victim." "How did it come to be in your possession, officer?" Officer Daniel Keaton lowered his head, his lips parting as if to speak, but no words came. The room broke into chaos, voices rising in disbelief. The judge struck her gavel hard, her voice cutting through the uproar. "Enough! Order in this court. These proceedings are hereby suspended. An immediate investigation will be opened into this matter." The silence that followed was heavy. Every face turned toward the officer, now trembling under the weight of suspicion. An immediate investigation followed. It was revealed that Officer Daniel Keaton had killed Marcus's wife after she ended a brief affair they had while Marcus was deployed overseas. She had attempted to reconcile with Marcus, and Keaton, unable to accept losing her, had lured her into the forest and murdered her. He had assumed Marcus, blind, black, and poor, would make the perfect scapegoat. DNA tests on the necklace confirmed the victim's blood and Keaton's fingerprints. Searches of his home uncovered letters, photos, and personal items proving the affair and his obsession. A colleague came forward admitting he had falsified evidence under Keaton's instructions, framing Marcus. When the court reconvened, Judge Whitaker's voice carried calm authority. "Marcus Johnson, this court recognizes your wrongful conviction. You are free to leave." Marcus sank to his knees, tears streaming down his face, and Rex pressed against him, tail wagging, faithful and proud. Jason Mills exhaled, finally allowing himself a moment of relief. Justice had come not through luck or legal technicalities, but through the persistence of truth, the loyalty of a dog, and the courage of those who refused to let Marcus's innocence be buried beneath lies. Marcus stood, embraced by his mother, and stepped out of the courtroom a free man, dignity restored, his life reclaimed. And Rex, ever vigilant, trotted beside him, the quiet hero who had changed everything.